Selamat siang teman-teman. Olah. Remove. Screen capture-nya yang paling bawah guys, udah benar. Oke. Siang ini kita bakal nonton Lalama Art. Aduh, filternya nggak mulus ya. Webcam, filter, edit filter, smoothness-nya. Wah, jadi gelap. Sambil makan siang kita ya guys ya. Semua ke record, tes mix, desktop udah aman ya.
A cool breeze crept through the valley outside of Telluride, Colorado, as my friends and I unloaded the truck parked on the dirt driveway. We had recently started renting an old mining house built in the early 1900s. Most of the home had been renovated over the years, but there were still glimpses of what the house used to be. The exterior of the home was painted a bright yellow and adorned a blood-red door. The yard was abundant, with lush green grass, minus the few brown patches that littered the ground. In the corner of the yard sat a dilapidated gazebo filled to the brim with landscaping equipment. I stood facing the house, admiring the quaint ambiance it seemed to exude. I felt something hit my back and spun around. My brother, William, was standing behind me with a box under his right arm. "Let's pick up the pace, we don't have all day," he said, with a little annoyance masked in his voice. Yeah, I responded, and started walking to the back of the truck. My other two friends, Elijah and Leon, were in the process of stacking some boxes on a dolly. "Hey man, take this to my room," Elijah said as he handed me a large box. I resituated it in my arms and gripped it. As I did so, I could hear glass clanging inside, and a strong, familiar odor starting to leak out. "Hey man, be careful," Elijah snapped. "If you ever want to smoke..."
Tunggu. Kayaknya ini deh yang bagus, Mister Nightmare Animation. Jangan yang compilation ya. You are offline. Ini nih yang paling bagus nih. Bedroom style.
So this happened a few months ago. I'm 26. I was at JFK Airport in New York with 5 friends. All of us were about to fly down to Florida to spend the week in a beach house. We had a few more minutes to kill in the airport before we would board our flight, and I really had to go to the bathroom all of a sudden. I was baffled to see a line out the door for the bathroom. I noticed a janitor walking by, so I asked her if there was another bathroom nearby that wouldn't be so crowded. She laughed and told me she shouldn't really be telling people, but there was another bathroom past the door she was pointing at, down a narrow flight of stairs and to the left. I thanked her because she was extremely nice and followed the direction she gave me. Sure enough, behind that door that no one would think to open was a small stairway that led down to a really poorly lit, skinny hallway. It was so narrow that if 2 people were to pass by each other, one person would have to stand against the wall to make room. I found the bathroom right away. The door was extremely heavy and hard to push. Also, the lights were on inside of the bathroom, and it was filthy in there. It was evident that nobody ever really came in there to clean. Now, this is a little embarrassing to mention, but when I go to the bathroom in public places, I always try to make sure nobody else is around to possibly hear me going. So after checking the stall to see that it was unoccupied, I went back into the hallway for a second to take a look down both directions. To the left, there was somebody standing at the end of the hall, in a dark, unlit section of the hallway. It was a disturbing sight to say the least. All I could do was awkwardly pull my head back into the bathroom and try to pretend we didn't see each other. I went into the stall and just stood there biting my fingers for a minute, dreading the thought of that door opening. And of course, it did. I saw the man's black shoes under the stall door as he walked to the stall next to mine. He shut the door, and then there was silence. No sound of the man unzipping his fly or sitting down, nothing. I realized I didn't really have to go anymore, and went to unlock the stall door. That's when I looked up and saw the man's head peering over the stall, looking at me. I nearly had a heart attack as my screams bounced off the walls of the tiny bathroom. I ran back up those damn steps and out that door, and then casually walked back over to my friends. I was breathing heavily, but nobody seemed to notice. I didn't tell anyone just because it was embarrassing, and I didn't want my friends to make fun of me in any way. I know, I guess that seems stupid now. We went on to have our Florida vacation and all had a good time. Of course, the thought of that creepy man haunted me every night that week.
Oke. Lanjut, Scary True Full Horror Story Animated. Ya, kotor banget. Scary field trip horror sad story.
Back in high school, I took a mysteries and mythology type class, or something like that. I don't remember the name of the class. It basically just had to do with real life mysteries and creepy shit. I was into that kind of stuff. I was taking the class with a good friend, who I'll call Ben for this story. The teacher of the class took us on a field trip to a nearby abandoned village with an unknown past. The village was built in the early 1900s, but seems as though it had been quickly abandoned shortly after it was built. The bus ride there was about 20 minutes. All of us were glued to the bus windows as we pulled up some sketchy-looking, decrepit road cutting through dense forest. The road eventually led to a clearing. We were there. We stepped out onto the road, which had grass growing through the cracks. The grass surrounding was almost knee-high. Then there were the buildings. The tall, archaic brick buildings with the boarded-up windows all gave off such chilling vibes. The teacher lined all 20 of us up, counted heads, and then began leading the way. The point of this little field trip was to use the so-called skills we learned in class to see if we could put anything together about why the village may have been abandoned so long ago. Some of the buildings had holes in the walls to serve as entryways. There were even holes in the ground next to some of the buildings, seemingly dug to get into the basements of some of the buildings, which seemed creepy. There was one building though. It stood taller than any of the others. It just intrigued me the most. While the teacher was leading the group towards the village church, Ben and I decided to sneak off on our own to look for anything interesting. When we walked off in the direction of the tallest building, we saw a hole in the ground. It was dug by the back door of the building, which had been sealed off. In the hole was a ladder which led down to the concrete floor below. We both looked at each other and knew we had to do it. Ben climbed down first, then me. Luckily, this was just around the time Apple started putting flashlights on their phones, so we had a source of light. It was creepy down there. There were a couple of beer bottles, one graffiti tag on the wall, and dusty wooden planks everywhere. There was a wooden stairway which led up to complete darkness, since all windows and doors had been sealed shut from above. We had already gone as far as to enter the building, so we figured we'd go up the stairs too. I went first, and with each step, the creakiness of the 100-year-old wood made me feel as if I was going to fall through each and every step. Ben followed suit. This floor of the building was very tight. It seemed like there were many openings going off into different, smaller rooms. It was so dark in there you would never even guess it was daytime. Ben and I were honestly starting to get creeped out in there and agreed to go back outside. But just then, there was a noise in one of the tiny rooms, like a big rock hitting the concrete floor. A normal instinct would be to run, but Ben and I froze, locked eyes for a moment, then both tiptoed over to the opening of the room. We shined the lights into the room and ran. We ran back down the stairs and then up the rusty ladder back outside. We caught up to the group out of breath. We didn't say anything though to avoid getting in trouble. One of our classmates asked us what was wrong. We told him we snuck into one of the buildings, and in one of the rooms, when we shined the light into it, we saw 3 guys standing maybe 10 feet away from the doorway, facing Ben and I in a weird formation, as if they were waiting for us. As we continued following the group, we paid extra attention to the tall building we entered from the distance, and before leaving, we saw a person's face at one of the higher level windows that had not been boarded up. We never told the teacher in fear of getting in trouble. We didn't know what to think. Were those just homeless people living in there? Were they gang members in hiding? Ben freaks me out with his theory. He says they were ghosts of the people who once lived in the town. Still, the way the 3 guys were just hauntingly standing there so calmly staring at us the moment we peeked our heads through that doorway. I still can't get that image out of my head. I may go back to that village one day, just to prove Ben's idea wrong.
Beneran baik. Lah. Oke guys, kita lanjut. Mungkin Counter Strike ya. Kita hajar kok.
Let's roll. Throwing flashbang. Incendiary out.
Masih rame ini guys.
Grenade out.
Tinggal satu.
Throwing smoke. Deploying flashbang.
Langsung masalah. AWP guys. Ini masih 100% lagi dia.
Grenade out.
Come on lah, jangan cima lah. Hai apa lah, ciao ni malah.
Jauh nih.
In best bro, best. Best teroris.
Gimana ya cara?
Min bom, mid. Come on.
Laying down smoke.
Push to top.
Damn.
There's no stopping us. They're gonna wish they were never born. Throwing fire. Throwing smoke. Incendiary out.
kita MVP guys. Yoi, boleh.